Hello everybody! Today I'm going to be bringing you my September and October wrap-up, because I realized I never did my one for September, as well as my November TBR. So over the last 2 months, I read a pretty decent amount of books, a pretty good stack, so let's just dive right into the list, I guess. So the first 2 books I'm going to talk about I don't physically have with me, and that was Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore by Robin Sloan, which I listened to the audiobook version of, and I did a review of already, so I will link that down below. And then I also read The Bermudez Triangle by Maureen Johnson, which I liked a lot more than the other Maureen Johnson book that I read. This one I liked that it had a representation of different character sexualities as well as different character races, which I really liked a lot. Basically, there are 3 girls who are best friends, and it's their senior year of high school, and some relationship-y kind of stuff starts going down, and they kind of have to figure out their friendship. So that's sort of that book. The other books that I read this month were Blood Trial and Blood Price by Tanya Huff, which I don't have with me right now, the first one. And these are the first and second books in the Blood Quintilogy. I don't know what it's actually called, but there's 5 books. Yeah, and so basically these 2 books, there is a cop, and her name is Vicki Nelson, and she can't be a cop anymore because she has this degenerative eye disease, so she can't see at night, and so she becomes a private investigator, and through a series of events ends up partnering up with Henry Fitzroy, who is the bastard son of King Henry VIII and is a vampire, and this is set in modern-day Toronto, and it's all basically kind of supernatural mystery. So the first book, there's a demon on the loose, and then in this book, there's someone trying to kill a family of werewolves, so that's kind of that story. I also read The Fourth Bear by Jasper Fforde, which is the sequel to The Big Over Easy. And this book kind of continues the same theme as The Big Over Easy, which talks a lot about nursery rhyme characters and puts them sort of in a modern-day setting, and they sort of have crimes and things like that. And so this one, it's from the title you can take, is a kind of a Goldilocks spin-off. This one was pretty good. I think I liked this one a little bit more than the first one, at least for the majority of the book. The end got a little bit much, I think, in terms of it just wrapping up a little too nicely. But yeah, if you like kind of funny books or have sort of a Britishy kind of humor, this is definitely a good one to check out, this series. I also read the second book in the To Hell and Back trilogy, which was Costume Not Included by Matthew Hughes. This was also a much stronger book than the first one. The writing was a lot more panache. It was a lot more, it was just better, really. And the plot was a little bit more thought about. I also read Geisha, A Life by Minako Iwasaki, which is, actually, this is one of the few nonfiction books that I've read this year. I should really try to read more of them. But this is basically the autobiography of Minako, whose name I'm saying completely wrong, Minako Iwasaki, there we go, who is essentially the geisha that Arthur Golden based his book, Memoirs of a Geisha on, and then he got everything completely wrong, and so she wanted to kind of set the record straight. So her life is actually super interesting. She's probably, I think, is the most successful geisha ever, and she sort of just talks about that and how she did it. I do wish that there had been a little bit more about when she was a famous geisha, more about kind of the lead up to that. It kind of felt like she skipped over that part. There was a lot of this is how I trained. Oh, I was really famous, and then this is what I did after I stopped being a geisha. And I kind of wish there had been a little bit more going on in there. And then also her writing style was very, which I find a lot actually with Japanese authors, at least like Murako Harakami books that I've read and a couple other things. They're very declarative, the sentences, and they're very just straightforward, and there's not a lot of description. So I wish there had been a little bit more kind of just fanciful sort of description as opposed to I wore this kimono, it had butterflies on it, it was this color with this, and this. I don't know. I just wish it was a little bit more story-like as opposed to kind of a statement, if that makes sense. I also read, which a lot of people have been wrecking and stuff, Horror Store by Grady Hendrix, and this book was actually really fun and super cool. It was, basically, it's a haunted IKEA, is essentially sort of the summary. I liked it actually for a good part. It wasn't super scary, so if you're concerned about it being a scary book, it's not that scary. I would check it out. And this book does some fun stuff where it's a real catalog, it has the store layout map, and there's at the start of each chapter there's furniture, kind of advertisements descriptions, which get more and more demonic as the book continues, and then there's coupons and stuff like that. So there's just some fun stuff that this book does with the concept. I think the main character was fun, and a lot of the time when you're reading the book, at least in the beginning, you can sort of start seeing where the weird stuff is happening. If you look at the cover, it looks just like a total normal catalog cover, and then you look at the pictures hanging on the wall. So stuff like that. There's just elements of normalcy and then a little bit of creepy. So that was cool. I also read, sorry, I know, there's a million things, Shades of Milk and Honey by Mary Robinette Kowal, which I've already done a review of, and I will link down below. And then I started the sequel to Shades of Milk and Honey, which is Glamour and Glass, got about 150 pages into it and really wasn't enjoying it, and then they pulled the, like, trope that I hate so much in any kind of literature and book, and I was just like, I'm out. So I didn't actually finish this, but I didn't really enjoy it. So I would really just say Pretend Shades of Milk and Honey is a single standalone book, and you will probably be a lot happier. And then I also read S by Doug Dorst and J.J. Abrams. I did a full review of this book also, which I will link down below. So that was everything that I read in the last, 2 months, which I know is, a ton of things. And then as far as next month goes, as far as my TBR for November, my goal for the next 2 months is to only read books that I physically own on this bookcase behind me, and to not, buy a bunch of new stuff or go crazy at the library. So a lot of the books I have behind me are, the first books in a series, but I'm just going to read the first one. I'm not going to go get the whole series, probably, and I'm just going to be doing that. So what I'm going to be trying to do this month is I'm reading currently The Time Traveler's Wife by Audrey Niffinger? Let's go with that. Which actually I have heard about a lot forever, and I know a lot of people really like, and I've always been sort of weirded out by it as a concept, but it's been pretty good so far. I also plan on reading Habibi by Craig Thompson, which I'm borrowing from a friend. This looks actually super excellent, and Craig Thompson's work is really, really good. If you haven't read any of it, I've read Blankets by him, which I really, really enjoyed, so I'm excited to read about this. And then I'm also working my way through the Scott Pilgrim series right now, which is, if you've seen the movie, the books are actually very, very similar to the movie, so it's been kind of fun, and it makes me want to watch the movie again. And then the third book in the Etiquette and Espionage Finishing School series is going to come out next week by Gil Carriger, so I'm going to get that in the mail, so I'm definitely going to be reading that. The first book is Etiquette and Espionage. I highly recommend checking this series out. It's a YA series, but it's not really that YA, so I've been really enjoying it a lot. And then I'm also going to try to work my way through East of Eden by John Steinbeck, because that is the book club read for the BookTube Buddy Reads Goodreads group. I'll link that down below if you want to learn more about it and participate in it. The theme for that month was classics that you've never finished, and East of Eden was the one that was selected, and I've never read East of Eden, so I thought it would be fun to try to participate in that too. Thank you guys very much for watching this video. Let me know if you read any of these books, or if you want reviews on any of these books, or if any of the books that I talked about you've read. Just, tell me what you're reading for the next month. I'm interested to know. I'm always looking for good new stuff. I hope you guys are doing great, and I'll see you soon with another video. Bye!